Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 201, Current Events. The episode begins with Ash and the gang arriving in a large field that acted as a wind power plant with a whole bunch of wind power turbines. When Ash spots the windmills, he foolishly mistakes them to be vents, leading Brock to correct him and explain that the windmills produced electricity powering the turbines once they were turned. Whoa, no way. Super educational, Brock. Seeing the place as a nice relaxing break spot, Ash and the gang decide to take a break for a little bit as Ash sends out all of his Pokemon to enjoy themselves, including Bulbasaur, Totodile, Chikorita, Cyndaquil. While the rest of the Pokemon go to play, Chikorita jumps straight into Ash's arms. Meanwhile, Team Rocket was also around the area looking for something to eat as they were starving, but all that they ended up stumbling upon was a white building, which happened to be the main building of the power plant. Hoping to find some food, they run to the door of the building, with Jigglypuff unbeknownst to them following, and James tries to knock on the door with a friendly knock to see if anyone would answer. Unfortunately, no one answers, so he simply tries to barge in by opening the door without anyone's permission. However, he finds that the door was locked. He tries to break the lock, assuming that it was a physical one, but Meowth then spots an electrical card reader on the door, inferring that that was how the door was locked, so it really would be impossible to barge it open. This leads Meowth to try breaking the electrical reader with his claw. Unfortunately for him, this just results in his claw being snapped off, as the electrical reader was too hard for it. This makes Meowth angry, and he foolishly goes to scratch the lock in anger yet again, and this does manage to break the lock, like Meowth was hoping, but he gets shocked in the process, as since the lock had been activated, it sent out a defensive shock, trying to ward off any intruders. But Team Rocket were used to shocks, so they were fine. They were even more fine when they realized that the shock that was administered from the lock had also completely destroyed the remains of the lock in the process, which in turn opened up the door, so Team Rocket can now get inside the building and search for food, with Jigglypuff following them in as well. As they explore, Team Rocket finds an elevator, only to find out that the short circuit of the lock had also caused the elevator to stop working. So they instead take the stairs down to the lower level, looking to find some food, as they hadn't found any on the first floor. Meanwhile, Brock declared that Ash and the gang should use this beautiful break spot to their advantage and have a picnic lunch. Ash and Misty excitedly agree, and Ash decides to go get some firewood with Pikachu, only to realize that Pikachu had taken this relaxation thing to heart and was currently fast asleep. Seeing that Chikorita was still trying to hug him, he decided to take Chikorita to help him gather the firewood instead. Meanwhile, back inside the plant's main building, Team Rocket were disappointed to find out that all the stairs led them to was just more and more empty hallways, and a singular Magnemite. Team Rocket questioned what a singular Magnemite was just doing in the power plant, when suddenly 4 more Magnemite appeared as well, and they began using Thunderbolt on Team Rocket, causing Team Rocket to run away in fear. Meanwhile, as Ash was looking around with Chikorita for firewood, he was sad to find out that he couldn't find any, instead only finding the main building of the power plant, with the door mysteriously still open, as Team Rocket hadn't closed it. Ash questioned why the door would be open, and assumed that maybe it was because someone was inside, and this someone was potentially someone he could ask about the location of some firewood. So, he decided to head inside himself, and called out for people, but suddenly, the door then shut behind him, trapping him and Chikorita inside, as the door was locked, which Ash found out when he tried to open the door to no avail. Thankfully, the door wasn't soundproof at least, as Ash then tried to call for help, and the call was loud enough for Pikachu to hear and wake up, right next to Cyndaquil, who was also sleeping, but somehow didn't wake up. Hearing Ash's yells, Pikachu assumes that Ash may be in trouble, so he instantly runs to the source of the sound, and when Misty and Brock see Pikachu run away, they instantly abandon the picnic they were setting up, with Brock putting out a blanket and Misty getting some food ready to go chase after Pikachu, believing that Pikachu must have heard Ash or something, and he was in trouble, since it usually didn't take him this long to come back with firewood. Meanwhile, back inside the building, Team Rocket had since run into a wall while being chased by the Magnemite, therefore becoming cornered, causing Team Rocket to panic, as they were likely about to get their asses completely shocked. However, the Magnemite suddenly then turned around and left in the other direction, much to Team Rocket's relief, who didn't bother questioning why the Magnemite just did this. They were just glad to be safe. Back outside the building, Misty, Brock, and Pikachu had showed up at this point, and had been able to trace Ash's screams for help. Brock immediately noticed the destroyed electrical reader, and tries the door anyways, only to, of course, be unable to open it, even from his end. So he comes to the conclusion that the electrical lock must be the only way to open the door, so he decides to call an electrician from the electric company for assistance. Ash questions how Brock was able to do this, with Brock revealing that there was a sign by the door that had the electrician's phone number in case something like this were to happen, and also explained that the building was the windmill power plant's main building. Brock then warns Ash that even though he had the electrician's number, it would likely take them either a while to get there, or they may not even pick up, so he suggested that Ash still try and find a way to escape on his own if possible. This led Ash to try and open the door once again, just by, pushing it open, but obviously this didn't fucking work. As Ash and Chikorita then decide to look around the building for another potential exit, Chikorita then spots a map on the wall of the building that was a map of the entire structure. Chikorita finishes examining it before Ash does, and uses its vine to point out a room in Sector B3 of the building, which was the control room. Realizing that they could go to the control room to open the door from there, Ash and Chikorita head downstairs to Sector B3, but struggle to find the exact location of the control room after going down several empty halls. These were the same empty halls that Team Rocket had went down, and what was by Team Rocket, you may remember? The Magnemite. So, the Magnemite that had cornered Team Rocket before now encountered Ash and Chikorita and proceeded to chase them, trying to Thunderbolt them this time. Ash contemplates battling them, but when he realizes that it would be 1 against 5, he knew that Chikorita likely didn't stand much of a chance, so he decided to just keep running and hope that the Magnemite would eventually tire. Meanwhile, while Ash and Chikorita were running away from the Magnemite, Team Rocket were now trying to look for a cafeteria. Although all they spotted was, of course, Ash running away from the Magnemite. Upon seeing Chikorita with him, Team Rocket decided that if they weren't going to find any goddamn food in this place, they may as well make it worth their while and steal Ash's Chikorita. Anyways, as Ash and Chikorita continued to run, they eventually reached a dead end, so they were forced to fight. Ash had Chikorita use Razor Leaf, which was able to send the Magnemite flying back one after another. However, the Magnemite, along with one Magneton, quickly came back. The Magneton then tries to avenge all of the injured Magnemite by using Thunder on Chikorita, but Ash was able to grab Chikorita and jump out of the way, so Chikorita was not hit. Much to Chikorita's joy, as it hugged Ash. This pissed Team Rocket off, who was still spying on Ash and the gang, as they wanted Chikorita to get hit, so it could be weakened, which would make it easier to steal. Adding that it would be even easier if Ash was tired out from battling as well. Just then, Team Rocket's view of the battle was interrupted as Jigglypuff suddenly walked up to Team Rocket, and it was instantly trying to sing. So, James snatched Jigglypuff's microphone from its hand and threw it across the hallway. Jigglypuff goes to run after it, but only after using Double Slap on James as punishment, which gave Jessie enough time to grab the microphone first and then throw it even farther away toward the Magnemite, which allows Team Rocket to run in the other direction and escape, as Jigglypuff was too preoccupied with running towards the Magnemite to retrieve its microphone. The microphone ended up not touching the Magnemite though, but rolling near Ash's feet instead, as Ash was so close by to the Magnemite anyways. This causes Jigglypuff to eventually end up at Ash's feet as well, leading Ash to wonder what fate he would prefer more, being shocked to death by the Magnemite or having to deal with Jigglypuff's attitude and potentially being put to sleep by it. Thankfully, Ash had to deal with neither, because in a Deus Ex Machina moment, Chikorita noticed that Magnemite's attack that missed it had managed to break a hole in the wall behind Ash and Chikorita, allowing Ash and Chikorita to run through the hole, which led to a staircase which led back down to the main floor. Yay! Ash and Chikorita were safe! Jigglypuff then retrieved his microphone that Ash didn't bother to pick up, and proceeded to sing with it, which in turn put the Magnemite and the Magneton to sleep, which also made Jigglypuff mad as usual, causing Jigglypuff to scribble on their faces, unknowingly having stopped the Magnemite and Magneton from just about attacking Jigglypuff and trying to end its goddamn life. Meanwhile, Brock returned to Misty and Pikachu after having somehow managed to call the electric company. I don't know if he had like a portable computer or some shit that he used, but anyways, he managed to actually get a hold of the company, but clarified to Misty that it would unfortunately take quite a bit of time for the electrician to arrive. Team Rocket, meanwhile, inside the building, then come back to the spot where Jigglypuff was to see that Jigglypuff had disappeared and the Magnemite and Magneton were put to sleep. They also saw the hole in the wall and determined that that's where Ash and Chikorita must have escaped through, since they weren't by the Magnemite or Magneton. As for where Ash and Chikorita were currently, they had wound up in an area with vents and electrical generators that happened to have a four-way crossroads. As Ash debated which way him and Chikorita should go to get to the control room, a massive swarm of electrodes show up and proceed to surround Ash and Chikorita from all four sides of the crossroads. In an attempt to defeat the electrode, Ash has Chikorita use Vine Whip on one of them, but all this does is anger the electrode, who then explodes. This actually works in Ash's favor though, as the explosion causes several surrounding electrode to move away from it, which opens up a path that Ash and Chikorita can escape through, so they run off with the other electrodes still pursuing them. To make matters worse for Ash, Team Rocket had heard all the ruckus going on, and had decided to head towards the ruckus in an attempt to find Ash, believing he was responsible. Ash and Chikorita were still primarily focused on the electrode though, as they were all trying to get up to him as close as possible and explode near him. Thankfully, Ash and Chikorita are able to outrun the electrode as they hide in a nearby room, only to unfortunately find none other than Jigglypuff, who threatens to sing them to sleep, so Chikorita instantly uses Vine Whip to grab Jigglypuff's microphone, tossing it out of the room, leading Jigglypuff to run off and go grab it. Ash thanked Chikorita greatly, although he was getting sick of all these close calls. Ash knew he didn't have time to complain though, so with the electrode still behind them and Jigglypuff now gone, Ash and Chikorita took the opportunity to run out of the room and escape down another nearby staircase. As for Jigglypuff, it managed to retrieve its microphone, but ran into Team Rocket in the process, so Team Rocket instantly took the microphone away from Jigglypuff, angering it, as Team Rocket feared that it was about to sing. Jessie then tosses the microphone away so that Jigglypuff goes after it once again and away from them, and this works, allowing Team Rocket to run away from Jigglypuff and try and find Ash and Chikorita. Jigglypuff retrieves its microphone once again, but this time it runs into the electrode. However, before the electrode can try to explode around Jigglypuff, Jigglypuff sings to the electrode, putting them to sleep, leading Jigglypuff to of course draw on the electrode and walk off. Back with Team Rocket, they had escaped into a room, hoping to find Ash and Chikorita inside, while also avoiding another encounter with Jigglypuff, but unfortunately for them, all they found inside the room was an Electabuzz, who was in charge of the security at the power plant, and was therefore angry that the lock was broken, allowing people to get inside. Team Rocket are so frightened by the angry Electabuzz that they freeze in place. They're stuck in place for so long that Wobbuffet was wondering what was going on, so it pops out of his Pokeball, and Jessie couldn't even recall it because she was so frozen. Meowth is eventually able to recover from his somewhat paralysis, and uses his ability to talk to Pokemon to try and convince the Electabuzz that Team Rocket were merely just innocent workers at the plant, and the ones that had broken the lock and caused all the ruckus was solely Ash and Chikorita, describing what Ash and Chikorita looked like, clarifying that they were still in the building. Electabuzz falls for Meowth's lie, and angrily charges up its electricity at the top of its head, which frightens Team Rocket as they think that Electabuzz was going to attack it, but Electabuzz instead just charges out of the room and goes to find Ash and Chikorita. Team Rocket then come up with a plan to steal both Chikorita and Electabuzz after they wear each other out when they inevitably cross paths and battle. Meanwhile, outside of the building, back with Brock, Misty, and Pikachu, the electrician actually arrives, and Brock's shocked to find out that the electrician is a woman, and he proceeds to flirt with her, as usual. I mean, he did say he was going to continue to flirt with women at the end of last episode, but Misty drags him away as usual, reminding Brock that the electrician was here to save Ash, not to save Brock's love life. Brock and Misty then explain the situation to the electrician, and clarify that they had sent Ash to try and open the door on his own, which leads the electrician to panic as she reveals that all of the Pokemon inside, including Electabuzz, the Electrode, and the Magnemite and Magneton, were all guards to guard the power plant, so that's why they were so hostile towards Ash and Team Rocket. The electrician's concern causes her to hurriedly rush to fix the electric lock so that her, Brock, and Misty could get inside the building. Speaking of inside the building, Electabuzz had located Ash and Chikorita, and Ash instantly scanned the Electabuzz with his Pokedex to learn information on it, and once he remembered how strong Electabuzz was, he immediately got a little concerned, but he did the only thing he could do, order Chikorita to fight it. Because the Electabuzz instantly went in for the first attack, being a Thunder Punch, but thankfully Chikorita was able to dodge and counter with a Razor Leaf. However, Electabuzz managed to destroy the leaves by using a Thunderbolt on them, and then use Swift. After Chikorita was taken down by the Swift, Electabuzz tried to finish it off with a Thunderbolt, but Chikorita was able to get up just in time and dodge it, and then use Vine Whip, immediately followed by a tackle on the Electabuzz. With the Electabuzz distracted from these attacks, Chikorita tried to get in one more tackle, but Electabuzz countered by using Thunder Punch. This sent Chikorita flying back, leading Ash to catch her, but Ash was knocked down in the process. While this was going on, the electrician was able to fix the lock and get the door open as she walked into the building with Brock and Misty, as Brock simped for the electrician, congratulating her on getting the door open, leading Misty to pinch him by the ear, reminding him once again that finding Ash was the priority. Anyways, back with Ash and Chikorita fighting the Electabuzz, Chikorita managed to get back up and use a tackle on the Electabuzz as Electabuzz tried to counter with Thunder Punch, and as these two attacks collided, a cage suddenly dropped down on Chikorita and Electabuzz. As you may expect, this cage was dropped down by Team Rocket, who had put their plan to capture Chikorita and Electabuzz into place, as they dropped down the cage from higher up in the building down a staircase, and they did their motto, revealing themselves, before walking away, dragging the cage with them on a roller. Chikorita and Electabuzz tried to free themselves from the cage using Razor Leaf and Thunderbolt respectively, but Team Rocket had designed the cage with steel so strong that both attacks were rendered ineffective, allowing Team Rocket to continue running down the hall away from Ash. By this point, Brock, Misty, and the electrician had entered the power plant, and immediately used the elevator, which was now also working since the lock was fixed. And the elevator brings them to the same floor that Ash and Team Rocket were on. However, Team Rocket wouldn't be on this floor for long, as they soon went into another elevator with their cage, and went down to the first floor, with Ash trying to follow them, but the elevator doors closed before Ash could join them in the elevator, meaning that he had to go down the stairs instead. When he does, Misty, Brock, and the electrician hear the noises of the stairs, and hear Ash's grunts and pants, so they head to the source of the noise, thereby following Ash as he goes down to the first floor and soon walks outside of the facility where Team Rocket had already arrived. As Team Rocket begins running away, Ash runs up a nearby hill adjacent to the main pathway outside that led into the forest, and as he goes down the hill, he's able to get ahead of Team Rocket, stopping them and their cage in their tracks as Ash demands his Chikorita back. Despite being cornered by Ash, Team Rocket were not intimidated whatsoever, as they knew that Ash currently had no Pokemon with him, so they decided to send out their Arbok and Victreebel respectively to attack Ash, who would be defenseless. Of course, though, Victreebel had to eat James first. Once Victreebel was done with this, though, Victreebel used Razor Leaf, and Arbok used Poison Sting, and then Victreebel used a Vine Whip, followed with another Razor Leaf, and Arbok used Wrap to wrap Ash, trying to strangle him. Damn. Arbok and Victreebel did not stop there, as with Ash getting choked out, there was really nothing he could do to defend himself, and Chikorita could do nothing to help, as she watched helplessly from inside the cage. However, upon seeing Ash almost die, and hearing Ash call out for Chikorita's help, Chikorita becomes super motivated and evolves into her second stage, Bayleaf, and uses Razor Leaf to cut through the cage, freeing herself and Electabuzz. Right as Brock, Misty, and the electrician catch up as well. Foolishly, Team Rocket still were not intimidated, as they were impressed by Bayleaf's new strength being able to break open the cage, and that just made them want to catch Bayleaf more. However, Team Rocket should have been scared, as soon as Bayleaf exited the cage, it then used a Vine Whip to toss Arbok and Victreebel into Jessie and James. The electrician then revealed herself as Electabuzz's trainer, and teamed up with Ash's Pikachu and Bayleaf to send Team Rocket blasting off, with both Electabuzz and Pikachu using a Thunderbolt, and Bayleaf using one last Vine Whip. Despite evolving, Bayleaf still had its little crush on Ash, so it was delighted when Ash hugged it and congratulated it for its win. Ash then apologizes to the electrician for trespassing in the building, with the electrician simply apologizing back to him for the trouble that Electabuzz caused, stating he was just trying to protect the place, but he didn't intend to cause that much damage to Ash's Chikorita. Ash and the gang are about to leave when Brock then tries to flirt with the electrician one more time, asking her if she needed someone for the security squad, leading Misty to drag him off, saying, "Luckily there's no one like you," insinuating that the only way the electrician would need help is if Brock was the one trespassing. The episode then ends with Jigglypuff showing up and singing, putting Ash and the gang and the electrician to sleep, which obviously pisses Jigglypuff off as usual, so Jigglypuff draws on everyone's faces, including Pikachu's and Bayleaf's, and then storms off. I'm not gonna lie, I really wonder how much farther this Jigglypuff gag is gonna go. It's lasted for so long at this point.